guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to turn this plain Jane black Traxxas TRX-4 Defender body into a piece of artwork like nobody else has. First thing you need to do is get yourself a nice clean new body. They're cheap enough that you should just start with a new body, not try and wrap one of the bodies that have the artwork all over it. There's videos that cover as to why that is. You can sort through them, have the link in the bottom of the video. But let's start with this one. This is a new clear body. I paid about $45 for it. It's got one can of black paint underneath. Probably saying, well, why did you choose black? Covered this in other videos, but I'll explain it again here. This is a Ruckus kit made by Darkside Studios. It has a primary black background color, and you can see it here, 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 all over the place. If this had a primary white background color, you would probably want to paint your body white. If it had an orange background color, you'd want to paint your body orange. This one is black, and it has a metallic flake accent add-on on top of it. So without any further ado, let's get started. I'm not going to go into my tools I'm using because that's covered in other videos. Again, that link is in the description below. So let's prep the body with some, what do we got here? 91% isopropyl alcohol. Put a little bit on a lint-free cloth, and we just go over the body, okay? Now, I've already prepped this body, so I'm not going to go crazy on it. I'm just going to go over it one more time really quickly here. But if you're doing this for the first time, you'll want to spend a lot more time on it than I am. Next step is this cheese tack cloth you can get from Walmart, Home Depot, Lowe's, wherever you want. And what that's going to do is just remove the big pieces of dirt, lint from the cloth. Okay, you can see that stuff. I always like to start from the side, exploring the graphics, unless the instructions say otherwise. There's a few kits that we sell, and the instructions will say you need to start with this piece, or this piece. And the reason for that is centering items. So let's start from the side. I'm going to put the body to the side for a second, get myself organized here. Here are the graphics again. I'm going to move my cheesecloth over there. Okay. So we're going to take my X-Acto knife, and we're just going to lift the corner up, and we are going to pull back. Okay. And once we do that, we're going to take this, set it aside. I'm going to set it on my clean table. Yes, this table is clean and sterilized. And I'm going to spray it with my soapy water mix. Again, soapy water mix is covered in other videos and the included instructions in the pack. Now that it's sprayed, I'm going to pluck out these tiny little cutouts here. And the reason I'm doing this after it's sprayed is because your fingers will not stick to this like they would if it were dry. This stuff is as sticky as a fly trap, and this makes it really easy to use. Let's see where I am here. It appears I am on this side. Great. So I'm going to take my soapy water, and I know this goes here because of the overhead diagram that is printed on the kit right here. Real easy. Follow the overhead diagram as if you're looking straight down on the body, and you can very easily pick out the pieces. It's not too hard. Okay? And so I'm going to just place this here. Hopefully you guys can see this enough. If not, I do have another camera here, and I will use that to show you better. Okay? There's this. I'm lining up these little holes here. that are cut in the graphics with the body. That's where the fenders will go, okay? And I'm leaving myself a nice little gap around this edge here. And it does appear I've got a bigger gap here and a bigger gap here. So that's not a problem. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a little bit of a stretch here. But first, I want to adhere it right here in the middle. So I'm going to give it a little bit of mild heat. You can see with the heat, it's able to just sort of flex back there for me, which is what I want it to do. Okay. And it's organized. I'm going to put my hand behind here, give it some support, and just squeegee that water out. I'm not going to lie, this is hard for me to do because I'm upside down and trying to keep this facing the camera right now. So you have to bear with me. I'm going to take this clean cloth. As I squeegee this up, the water comes up and there's a little ridge here. And what's happening is it's not flowing over the edge. It's getting caught there. And when I let go of the pressure, it gets sucked back under. So I'm going to take this rag that's dry and I'm just going to rub that out there. And while I'm doing that, it's sucking up the water. See how it's starting to stay now? Because that water can get sucked back in, okay? Now that I have this down right here, I'm going to pull this back real fast, spray it again, okay? And remember, the reason I pull that back is I want to stretch that a little bit because I'm a little short there. So I'm going to heat it up. Doesn't have to be anything crazy. And I'm just going to give it a little bit of a pull. It doesn't have to be much. I got about another 16th out of it, which is great. Okay? Just going to take my thumb, get it set there so it doesn't pull back on me, and I'm going to come back and keep it warm. By keeping it warm, it will want to stay there instead of contract backwards until I can get the rest of it down. So I'm going to take my squeegee and just get that wrapped up around there, like that. Okay? Use my hand a little bit. Looks fantastic. Now remember, this is covered on this model by some fender flares. So it's really not imperative that that come all the way to the front, okay? So let's work on this back here. That looks pretty good. I think I'm just gonna leave it the way it is. Maybe lift it up just a little bit here. Okay, I'm gonna stretch it. First, I'm gonna heat it. This is going to be an easy stretch because we just have this tiny little narrow band here. So it's not going to take much to stretch that, okay? And as you can see, I just got another clean 16th out of that by stretching this portion here, okay? Give it some more heat. And we're going to just roll that edge up with our squeegee. And again, we're going to take this cloth and try and dry that up a little bit so it stays and the water gets sucked back under there. Okay, that looks great. Very nice. Let's work our way up here. I'm going to spray this down, and I'm going to come over here, grab the piece I need. I'm going to do this off the camera view because this is pretty self-explanatory. I'm sure you don't really need to see me pluck these off of here. It's easy to do. Now this piece here is a little wily. So I'm going to get it sprayed before I do anything else because I don't want it to stick to itself if these come in contact. Now that this is wet, watch what happens when these two sticky sides touch each other. Nothing, okay? So it's imperative to keep them separated until you can get them wetted down. Okay, I'm going to flip it like this. Hopefully you guys can see that. That looks pretty good. Let's get this. This is another easy stretch. I needed a 16th there. I didn't even need to use 8 because of these two narrow bands. It just allows me to pull it and stretch it into place. This one here, you can see I need another 16th. I'm going to do the same thing. But because this is a little bit thicker here, I think I'm going to heat this up just a little bit before I do my stretch and into place. Okay. See how I did? It looks fantastic. Really good. Nice and tight and even. I can feel it wanting to come back, so I'm going to keep it warm. Just like this. Okay. Instead of using the felt tip squeegee, I'm actually going to use this dry cloth. And I'm just going to take my finger and rub the water out and underneath. And it's going to come squirting out the sides. And as soon as that happens, it's made contact with the body. And the adhesion process has begun. Okay, so that looks fantastic. I think what we need to do next is get the windows installed. I'm going to take my rag and just make sure I have all the junk off here from the installation so far. I don't see anything else. That looks good. Let's get it sprayed down. And I will grab the windows off of my sheets. Okay, spray it down. And this one goes here. You can see how nicely the artwork lines up for you there. Fantastic. I'm not going to worry about getting that down yet. I'm going to get the other ones on and then I'll push them down all at the same time just to make things a bit easier. Okay. There's that one. Nice and centered. Wet enough there. Let's grab another one. This is the front window, front driver's window. Fantastic. I'm going to take my rag and just use my fingers and go across, get any of the water out. And as it's coming out the side, it's being soaked up the rag. Awesome. Awesome sauce. So here we go. That looks pretty good so far. So I'm going to speed the video up because you probably don't want to watch me do the other side. And once I'm done with that, we will do the roof. Okay, and I am back. I have both sides done. There's a little spot here I have missed. Awesome. Got this side done. I got this side done. Let's do this top piece because it just looks cool and it's huge and it's fun. So I'm wetting it down. I need to find my X-Acto knife. And once I do that, I can pluck this off of here. Be right with you and back in camera frame in 1 second, folks. Okay, here we go. Awesome. And we're going to wet that down. And we are going to slap this on here, slide it around. And I'm going to line up these two holes right here, there, and there. It's a good starting point. I'm going to check my tolerances on the front. That's a nice clean line there. My tolerance back here is just a little off, but I think what I'm going to do is cheat it back a little bit here. Let's see. Keep these holes lined up there. Tolerance looks good there. There. Okay, I look fairly centered. Before I adhere this down, I just want to bend this down and make sure. Yep, that looks good. Now you may be looking at this on the screen and saying, well, why is there this big black gap here? Well, the reason for that is, and you may not be able to see it because of the camera, there's a big ridge right here. It's just part of the molding process. And for this graphic to go over that, I thought would look like crap. So we sort of templated it around that. And it's in my opinion that as long as these gaps stay even and clean and you paint the body the correct color to match the graphics, it still looks sharp, even with this gap right here, okay? But yes, you can feel it if you ran your finger across, or if you're an owner of a Defender body, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm gonna warm this top up just a little bit here. And I'm gonna take my big squeegee, and you can see all this water just shooting out the back. There you go. That's a good thing. I should clarify, that's not just water in there, it's soapy water with a little bit of this alcohol mixed in. Again, covered in the instructions. See how this is more aptly bending down now? Because I'm heating it up. You don't want to heat it up too much because you'll get a waviness in it when you roll it down, okay? You want it to maintain some of this rigidity because we want to maintain these nice clean lines like I just mentioned across here, okay? And don't worry, if you do get some waviness, we can come back and trim it. It's not a huge deal, depending on how comfortable you are doing that. Now, this is just a little sticky right here, so I'm just going to get my knife. I'm going to cool it off a little bit so as I pull back, it doesn't stretch. You can see I was able to accomplish that there. I'm just going to heat it up just a little bit. In fact, I'm going to put a little bit more juice in there. Awesome. Let's heat this up. Here's a little tip. If you're heating this up and your finger is so hot, getting so hot from the heat gun that you have to pull away, that's too much heat. It should be just enough heat that you can stand to keep your finger there, okay? I'm going to do this area last, and I'm going to tell you why in a second. So let's round this down. That's still warm. Having a little trouble with that spot there, so I'm going to warm it up. I'm going to use my rag to soak that water up because I think that's the culprit for that little ripple there. And it stayed, so I think that's correct. Okay, hard for me to see here. Looks like I have a little bit of a lift there, not a big deal. So I'm just going to pull this off just a touch there, like that. And I'm going to work my finger right across this narrow band. I need to soften that a little bit right there and push it down. And you can see because I softened it, it's no longer there. Now I'm going to try and even this curve out here by taking this and just sort of, while it's still warm and not really adhered, I'm just going to lift it up like that, just a little bit. Warm that back up because I still have that ripple there, but you know it'll go down because it's already done once. I'm going to soak some of this water up, add a little bit more heat. Okay, let's add the window piece. Right with you. Just going to grab that. I'm going to wet it down, wet it down. I get this aligned for you guys. I'm sorry. I admit this is really difficult for me to do over top like this, but I'm doing my best. That looks good. I'm not gonna mess with that too much. I'm gonna flip this around. This has dried since we put it on, so I need to get it watered back up so we can get the air out and the bubbles. Take notice how this vinyl is sticking straight out, okay? Shows you two things. One, it's a thick product. So when you're bashing this thing against rocks, you don't need to worry so much about the product being ruined, okay? It's designed to protect the print. And two, it tells you it's pretty cool. It's room temperature. Watch what happens when I heat it up. See it start to fold down on its own? So it's already lost about, what, 20 degrees? Let me find my tool. Okay, so here we go. Felt tip squeegee. It's still warm. And we just push it down. Okay? This is already cooled. So I need to heat it back up. Easy peasy. Just hot enough that I can stand it with my finger on there. Okay. These squeegees come in handy, but on little RC cars like this, there's very few places where you'll really need it, and this is one of them where it's big and flat. But on these spots right here, this product is so thick that you can just use your finger to push it down. Okay. Hard for me to sort of see. It looks pretty good. And I'm just gonna get this down and then run my finger across there and I'll take a look. It looks pretty even. Pretty happy with that. Okay, I'm gonna do the window. So I'm gonna spray it just to the side. And I'm gonna grab the window piece. It's already pretty wet, so I really don't need to spray this. You can, it doesn't much matter. And there that is. Yeah, that looks great. I'm gonna give it a little bit of heat here. I can still see I got a couple little ripples there that need to go down. I'm gonna take my trusty claw and sort of do a push down, which is gonna do two things. It's obviously gonna push the graphic down and it's gonna soak up that water, okay? Keep in mind, we're gonna come back over this in the end and make sure everything is perfect. So this is just for the just now. Sunroof. Spray it down. And I'm gonna grab the sunroof body here. And go. Nice and centered, nice clean lines. Good place for the big squeegee because it's nice, big, and flat. Just gonna go like that. I'm gonna soak up any residual water, just let it go, okay? Here is where we are. And that, my friends, I think looks pretty darn good so far, okay? Let's do the final, last, easy piece, I think, which is gonna be back here. This is, I think, two main pieces. Again, just gonna grab it off of the sheet. Gonna spray it down. And here we go. That's an easy one, right? If kids want to help, that might be the piece you want them to do if you're doing this one. So, the next piece is going to be the main door hatch. And most of this will actually be covered by, I think, a spare tire carrier on this model, but for continuity reasons, we're going to put it on there. So the whole machine is covered. I got a little piece here, so instead of getting my dirty fingers in there, I'm going to wet it up first. I'm going to use this to get that out of there. There's one there, there's one there, and there's one there. Okay, here we go. Spin this around so you guys can see it. Beautiful. Pretty much the perfect fit right there. Now you'll notice that some of these holes, I actually, when I template these for you guys, I back cut them enough that you have some wiggle room there because all these holes generally have something like a rivet or a roll bar, and as long as it's a pretty even back cut, it looks really good, I think. Okay, so I'm going to heat it up a little bit. Okay. I'm going to take my rag. Actually, I'm just going to use my finger first to see, make sure that everything is lined up before I finally reach in. That looks pretty good. Just going to go over it. Looks like we're going to need some heat because there's a little bit of a roll on that edge there. But I think what I'm going to do first is get the windows in. So, I'm going to spray it. And I'm going to grab my windows. Nice and easy. Give it a little spray so you can slide it around, give it in place. Got a little extra piece there. looks good. You have to excuse me. I am going to, oh, I have it upside down. Okay. This is why it's a benefit to use the soap and water application, because if you make a stupid mistake like I just did, you can just take it off and start over. I'm wondering why that didn't look quite right. No. And now you can see his headband there is lined up. So now we need the final two windows. Okay. I'm going to keep this on my X-Acto knife like this, just because I think it's going to be a lot easier for me to install. And I do believe, where does this go? My memory serves me correctly. I believe it goes right there. This goes here. Yeah, there we go. And final one. If I can't figure out where this final one goes, probably should not be doing this. Just give it a little squirt there. Okay. Excellent. Giving it some heat because I'm going to take the cloth and get this here, down here. Looking good, looking good. Okay, here we go. There is that. Hopefully the camera picks that up for you guys. Now we still have this to do, the front, this side, and what I consider to be probably the hardest part of this model is the hood. Okay? So what I think we're going to do is do the hood next, and we'll do the small pieces on the sides last because we can more easily trim them if need be. So get this spun around. And what I'm doing here is I really have no way to know where this goes as far as alignment except for the cutouts on these holes right here. And that's enough. I'm not going to adhere that yet because there's some other pieces that go around this. And I want to make sure everything lines up neatly before really pressing down on it. So I still have some bail time left if I need to realign this, okay? Obviously this goes like this, okay? And this is going to come back around here. And this is going to come back around here like this. And you can already see we're going to need some heat to get this baby down. It's a curve, for sure. Okay? Deal. I'm going to take a couple swipes with this just to get the bead of it down. I'm going to work our way around there. Work our way around here. See the water's pushing up and then it kind of wants to go back under. So I'm just going to soak some of it up there. Okay? I am going to use my squeegee here because I can do a nice clean push like that down. Just like that. Good deal. I'm going to warm this side up. And do the same thing. I'm going to hinge it and push it down. Just like that. Okay. All right. Let's re-wet underneath the front there because it's been a few minutes. Okay. And we're going to warm it up so it's flexible. Deal. Now I'm going to try and do my best to look at this and have you guys see what I'm doing here. I am pushing like a smudge with my thumb to try to keep the front hood graphic level and lined up with the front grille. As you warm these up, if one side gets more warm than this side and you're installing it, you could flex it and push it and you're going to get that waviness in the graphics. So depending on how much of a perfectionist you are, this is an important step. Okay. This is going to take some more heat. I'm just going to dry that because it's such a small little appendage. A little bit of heat will dry the moisture under it, and see how it just stays down immediately now? Okay, so I think the next thing we need to do is get these pieces on here. I am simply going to pluck them off. I'm going to water it down, okay? Where does this go? That is a valid question right now. It looks like it goes here. I should know where this goes because I designed it, but I don't. I've got so many templates now for these RC cars that I've lost track of where some of these things go. Real easy install on that. And the final piece here. Awesome. That's got a really nice arc registration there. There's no distortion. That's why it was done in so many pieces so that everything stays aligned. I'm going to spray that down, and I'm going to get the piece that goes next to that. So that is, okay. I'm going to push this all the way back here. Just like this. Okay. This is going to fold down the front here. So we're going to need a little bit of heat. And on this piece, I am just going to just get it a little bit closer to that. I'm going to use my thumb and push that down. If I get anything extra with these rags. We're going to heat the front of this hood piece up a little bit that we had previously worked on, because I noticed after I took a break here, it curled up just a little bit on me, probably because there's some moisture left in there. There we go. That looks much better. Awesome. Okay, we're going to do the other side. Ahead of myself, stay that down. And this is going to go just like that. Heat it up. Going to dry some of the residual. Heat it up again. Excellent. Okay, let's do the windshield next. How's that? Another easy installation. I'm going to grab it off the sheet. This piece is really thin, but that's okay. It's still pretty easy to put on. Sprayed it. Gonna align it. Oops. Gonna align it like this. Easy to get this piece a little wavy here because it's so thin. So what I'm going to do is just let it lay there and not really push it down yet, because I want to get these window pieces in, or should I say louver pieces? I guess it's not really a window, right here. And then I'll make sure everything is aligned and looks pretty before I do my final adhesion push. I'm not going to put any water on this because it's such a small piece. Remember, give yourself a nice even gap if you can. Okay, you can see the top here is a little tight, so I'm just going to take my finger and slide that real thin piece up. And if I can't get it with my finger, I'll get something in there that can, like this knife. Just slide it up just a little bit there. There we go. Okay. Awesome. And we're going to get the final piece that goes in there. The final piece is right here. A little bit of water. Remember, leave yourself that nice clean gap. That looks pretty good. Okay. Spray. And we're going to put the windshield in next. Just like that. Boy, that piece really brought this together. Sometimes there's like one sticker that's just the keystone that brings everything together. Now, there's a huge ridge up here that you may not be able to see in the camera. It starts right here and it goes up to the top. So there's no graphic for that. Because these are so thick, it won't sit down cleanly there for you and probably wouldn't last long because of that. But I do have a piece, a very tiny piece, that will go underneath here. Now you may wonder why I just dried that. This is so thin that I'm gonna dry apply it. Okay. So take your time, and we'll get it started like that. And just like pinstriping a car, you're just going to slowly take your time and work your way over here. Okay? I'm a little shy there. So I'm going to take my knife and just lift it up real quick. Okay? Give it a little stretch there and down and up. I'm going to get it somewhat adhered here. I'm not going to go crazy. Now I'm going to take my feet and I'm going to push it down with my claw. Just like this. Lots of straight down pushes. Okay. That is looking mighty fine, if I do say so myself. Let's get these front fenders done, and we are almost finished. Okay, so this would be the driver's front fender if you're in the United States. If you're watching in the UK, it would be the passengers. Okay, another one with holes, so we're going to wet it first. Pluck them out of there, throw them to the side. We're going to wet down our fender. Okay. Line that hole up. Line that hole up. What I'm going to do is get this lined up so there's no gap. Okay. Back here. And then see where things work out in the front. I could use a little stretch here, and that's no problem. So I'm just going to heat that up a little bit, water it down. Now this is still warm, so I'm able to get my stretch out of it. Awesome. Sorry you guys can't see that. Great. I'm trying to reach over here. But it's down, and that's pretty seamless right there. Grab my knife that I dropped. Let's add a little bit more heat to this. That. I'm going to use my thumb, go across this. Good. Now, one of the things you'll notice is there's these holes here. What's really going to pretty this up, hopefully I can get the right fender here first try. Did I get lucky? Yes, I did. You can see that these fenders are just going to go right over top that graphic, and it looks sharp, seamless. Okay. And we have one more fender to do. It won't take long, so I'll let the camera roll. And we're going to wet this down so we can plug our holes out. There's number 1, there's number 2, and number 3 flipped over on me. It's going to give me a little bit of a pain, but I keep the water here. There we go. Awesome. And we are going to just flip this over here. And we're going to butt it up right there. And just like the other side, we're going to need just a little bit of a stretch on this. So I'm going to adhere this back part, and then I'm going to use the hinge method and pull it up a little bit. I'm going to warm it up, and I'm going to try and get that 16th out of it that I need by giving it a little stretch. And there it is. I got the 16th. Before this pulls and wants to contract on me, I'm just going to warm it up again and do my final push down, which will hold that stretch in place and adhere it to the body. Just like that. Okay? Looking mighty fine, folks. Looking mighty fine. Looks like I forgot to do this. Final push down, so I'm going to just warm it up a little bit. Looks great. Okay. There are a few extra pieces that go here. We'll do them. And I will choose to dry apply these because they are so tiny. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. Okay, there's one. And where is number 2? Here it is. Okay. There she goes. Great. Okay. I also have some front grille pieces here. I'm also going to dry apply these because they're so tiny. Hopefully you guys can see this. Trying to get them shoved back a little bit here so that we don't interfere with the grill. Once the grill is installed, I add a little bit of heat to that because there's a little bit of a roll or a chamfered edge on that grill. Just going to get in there, finger, and push down. Looks great. Okay. Follow suit on the side. It's going to be another dry apply. Again, you guys can see. You do have a few seconds to lift up during a dry apply if you need to reposition, okay? More than about 10 seconds and you're going to leave a residue behind from the bond initiating. Okay, you can see there, that looks good. Then do the other side. Looks great. And I have one last piece to do, and it's right along the bottom. Looking mighty fine, folks. This thing is almost trail ready. Okay, here we go. Now, let's go over a couple things. Well, I still got you here. My advice would be to go back over this one last time, make sure all the water is gone, and there's going to be some edges like here where the graphic is so thick that it sticks out over a rolled edge that it's going to need to be heated and pushed down, okay? What I like to tell people to do is to try to do it now while everything is sterile. You can heat it up, you can use your rag and sort of push down like that. You can go back over. You can look for any air pockets or water pockets and pop them if you want. There's some other videos I have on here of that process being done. I'll probably do that off camera because it's boring, monotonous. You guys probably know how to do that. doing this on a Friday or Saturday or a weeknight, going to work the next day, I would advise you to take it and set it somewhere in the sun where nobody's going to steal it, and just let it cook in the sun. That's going to evaporate everything out. You can come home that day, you go back over it again, and then I consider it to be pretty much trail ready. Again, if there's a piece that's not adhered down on an edge, and you take it out in the trail and the dust gets underneath there, it's over forever as far as that little piece. Now, it'll slowly work its way back in, but it would take a long time, and eventually it stops eating its way back in as far as the dirt and the water and grime. So it's very important that all the edges are down and it doesn't have any of that moisture residing right on these edges where dirt and water and contaminants can migrate in. With that said, this is the installation of the Ruckus graphics theme by Darkside Studios on a Traxxas TRX-4 Defender.